everyone, this is Keith Scott from Apple Simply Australia. I'm one of the voices of Blue Energy Loose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kelly and Andy McPhee.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. I'm really happy for you. Tell him a bit about how you began the adventures of Harold in the Hood.
So yeah, it was something that had started like years. I mean, probably back in 2012, maybe 2013, where I was doing a lot of work with behavioral youth in the private setting, in the private sector. Before I got into the public school setting, and a lot of the kids, they were behavioral kids who were, seen as having social emotional needs and things of that nature. So I would have to do like uh, social groups with the kids. And so when I would do the social groups, sometimes it would be hard because it was elementary, age kids, and it would be hard for them to come time focus on what the social lesson was. So one day I was trying to figure out how am I going to have the kids kind of pay attention to more to the lesson and focus on the lesson, and so we could get through the material we need to get through, so they could get what they need in terms of their services and stuff. So I came up with the idea of getting this little snail puppet that I had that was around in one of the drawers and stuff like that. It was like a little brown snail puppet and everything. So I grabbed the puppet and I said, well, I'm going to utilize that puppet as a way to model behaviors in the classroom. And I was like, well, so what am I going to name the snail? What am I going to name him? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to call him Harold from the Hood and go in there and do it. So the kids, they were very interested in that. And I always made sure I connected that to the social lesson. So like we would do the social lesson, and if they paid attention and did the things they need to do with the social lesson, then I would also bring out Harold to let them have, some dialogue and interact with Harold, and maybe even we'll model, appropriate behaviors, social behaviors and stuff like that. We use the puppet to model some of that. So the kids loved it, and they gravitated toward it. Then years later, at that time, I didn't have an idea that it would even be a book or a series or anything or a cartoon. That was not even my thought process back then. But then we moved forward, and then we got into the pandemic and everything. And I just got the idea that, maybe I would like to create into a book series, a children's book series that teach social skills. And then, the first book came out, and, we had talked about that first book, A Trip to the Park, on the show that we first did together. And, all this time later, it just materialized and snowballed into what has become today, which, now it's like, the Harold from the Hood brand, and I just continue to build on that brand and try to inspire change and positive change wherever I go, and with my message too.
Yeah, it's amazing how it turned into a cartoon. How did the cartoon deal come to be?
So I had always thought that at the time, by the time the third book came out, Lunchtime Fun Time, I was thinking like I would like to go into the domain of maybe having some animated happening. And of course, when you're in the author world, you meet so many different people, not just authors, fellow authors, but you meet like producers and stuff like that, and people who are in that kind of industry that you kind of get to know. Uh, so being connected to one author led to an opportunity to be introduced to some other people, and then the other folks and other folks, and then you're in Zoom meetings and having discussions about things, and talk about the ideas and the direction you want to go in, and with a project such as that, and then you put together all the details, and you're like, okay, well, this is now it's going to happen. You're fleshing out how it's going to go. So I was like, well, to start, I think it would be a good direction to just have to, start off as it being like adaptations from the books. So having the books be created, a cartoon animated adaptation of each of the books. So it was like, okay, we'll start with The Trip to the Park. That'll be the first book we'll start with. And so it was just created, it was a process, but it was, created as an adaptation of A Trip to the Park, and be able to have the characters in that book actually realize and see how the character design went. It was a process, like you go through the process of having the characters designed and maybe remodeled and remade, and to get to the point where you feel like it's where you want it to be as creator of the content, to be where you want it to be in terms of everything. So, and then you go toward the storyboard and the actual animations, and going through reviewing all this material, and having to do get voiceovers for the characters, voiceover work done for the characters. So it's definitely is a process. But as you see everything kind of slowly come together, and you actually see your characters come to life and everything in that way, it's just so special. And I've been so blessed to be able to create those adaptations and stuff. And I'm still working on some more adaptations, some more materials around that, in terms of like making not just more adaptations, but like creating like mini shorts that will be having like entertainment / social skill values in it. And I'm just excited for that project. That's a whole new project there. But I mean, it's a process, but it's a great opportunity when you look at the bigger picture of things. Of how, a lot of time you don't get a chance to create animation for your characters with kids' books. So the doors open. I just went right through those doors and did the thing I need to do to have those opportunities created. Now, seeing the finalized piece of it, it's just amazing to even, see the animated aspects of it, like, created in that way.
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia, saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.